this is actually a really simple question that we got from Bill, and he was in Livonia. But I think it's actually a really good question because there's no bad questions. I don't think I'm always subscribed to that. Hey, a question is a question. You need an answer. You need an answer.
Right.
This is one of those ones where I think people really sometimes aren't really sure what to do. Bill says, Phil, what happens to the money in my 401k after I retire? Do I have to roll it over, or can I just leave it there?
Well, the bottom line is it really depends on what that company plan says.
Okay.
The company, you have to think of it, the IRS is the kind of the top level rule. They don't care. There's no rule that says you have to leave it or take it out or do anything other than RMDs. I mean, that happens once you're 72 on IRAs or 401ks, doesn't matter. But then below that then is the company, the plan rules, and they govern and can say you have to take it out or you don't, or when you retire and are no longer a participant, then this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Most plans don't make you take the money out. So could you leave it there? Absolutely. There's pros and cons on both sides. You've got to look at both pieces to really see, is that the right decision for you? A lot of times it does make sense to roll the money out for a couple of reasons. Number one is flexibility in investment options. You have a much broader range of options and things you can do outside of that company plan.
Okay.
And then the other is planning for a surviving spouse, because what the rules are for you as a former employee are one thing, but then you have to look further into the plan to say, okay, if I pass away and I've named it beneficiary, what does my now surviving spouse or kids or whoever inherited have to do?
Gotcha.
So maybe they're going to get forced into a scenario at that point that you wouldn't want, that if it were in an IRA, you've got much better control. So
Okay.
There's pros and cons, fees, all sorts of things you have to look at. So, there's no absolute with it, like anything in planning.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the pros and cons, what fits in your scenario. And then based on all the information, make the decision that's best for you.
All right.
But you don't have to leave it there. That's one of the misconceptions is,
yeah.
I leave it there and you retire and you've got 4 former employers and money all over the place, which makes it very difficult to manage.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. We call those orphan accounts. So a lot of times it does happen. And some companies will. I had one years ago, Phil, that I totally forgot about, and they rolled it out of the 401k into an IRA themselves and sent me the paperwork and said, this is now an IRA.